Bump, bump. Market vitals, the levels you need to triage the market. HFR from the floor. Currently haven't been on the floor in a bit, Matt, in a bit. Missed trade, Matt Davio with a don't. Still suspended.
Permanent
ban. You know, they're not so good with their ban though, because here you are. Here we are. It was just that decade.
Well, again, they didn't like the VARS data that I was sharing. You know, again, it was just VARS data. And now the CDC is hiring, actually, they're trying to hire somebody to clean up the VARS data because there's been 700,000 reported serious things on VARS. And that
Dr. McCullough is not letting up on that.
I was reading an interesting thread on this. Like, they literally have a new position to come in and freaking clean up the mess that is VARS, which is the truth, right? And most people don't even report the stuff that's happening. This is just supposedly the major stuff. 700,000. If you took all 90 vaccines that are out there in this country that have been approved for whatever, for human use, and combined them, there's not been 700,000 VARS complaints in the history, and we've done it in 2 years.
Nothing to see here. Matt, let me share some good news.
Dang, that looks good,
doesn't it? Come grill with me, an Aussie here. I can't stop looking at this picture. Amanja TV said we need this now. I got to tell you, I've never used the Shrimp Mojo on octopus, but I cannot imagine that it's not fantastic.
What about the scallops? Have you done it on the scallops?
I haven't done them on scallops either. Scallops are very, very difficult to crisp up like that. There's so much.
Yeah, they are. But I would think if you got them really oily and a bunch of Mojo on there, it would be damn good.
And then the thing that I love here is the tzatziki mashed potatoes. I mean, I think that's probably they don't have to be super hot, the mashed potatoes with the tzatziki in it. That's the cucumber kind of, sour cream thing that the Greeks do. The tzatziki, man, that's just, I can't stop looking at it. Anyway, visit Amazon.com and search for Shrimp Mojo and get your mojo on. Matt, it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. Everybody's working for the weekend. And the market, as you brought in and said, and let's go to it, bear markets tend to be bearish on Fridays or so. Nobody wants to.
But bull markets tend to be bearish. No, bull markets tend to be bearish on Fridays.
Really? So
yes.
We're in a bull market?
Well, for the week we have been.
Right on.
Yeah. So no, this is an important nuance. That again, what happens is we've had 4 days of buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Right. Look at this. And really 2 weeks. Like 1 week ago, we were 11,480. We went all the way up to 12,7. I mean, that's 10% in 8 days, Bob. So why wouldn't we take some profits here? And again, if you're looking, and again, yesterday's lows are holding, so it's no big deal, right? But if you came in expecting to see the same thing that you saw the last couple of days, you were greatly, taken care of and abused. And this is what happens. Like retail finally goes, oh, I got to buy finally, right? And so now you buy at the wrong spot. And what they did is what I was looking for this morning for the first time, because we've been selling off in the mornings, going up every day this week, except for Monday. We sold off later on the Google, Apple stuff. But today, my game plan was, please give me a rally, hopefully up to 12.7. I want to sell it hard because I think we're going to sell off. And I was only looking for 12.5. And by the way, so I sold that move up here and I covered it at 12.5 and it went down to 12.4 already. So again, I didn't get the whole move, but got a big chunk of it. And but that's it. It's one trade and you're done.
One and done.
One and done, which again, I'll take 200-point trades all day. If you can give me 200 points out of the NASDAQ and, let's just say you sold 670 and, it got to 500 right around, what time was that? 8:45. So it took you less than 2 hours for that trade. That's a good trade. And it was swift, kicking the balls. but that's what happens. Again, it's just to me that's like a setup that I was looking for. But whatever. That's the don't.
That's the don't.
Now,
Who's
next
the
week
don't?
we have next week we have the Fed, we have Apple, we have Google, we have a lot of things coming up ahead of us. So, there's more to come. One thing that I thought was interesting, everybody's kind of like I said, everybody's kind of been buying stocks saying, okay, we're out of the woods. So, earnings aren't going to be that bad, like Tesla, Netflix, right? Then last night we get Snap, Bob. Snapchat goes.
I am so unfamiliar with that particular.
Your kids were, I guess, I'm sure they all use it, but they were older. But interesting that it came back and basically got to where it broke down from before. Like it worked hard to go from 11 to 17. That's a big gain, 60%. And then the numbers came out and bam. But what's interesting, again, is the big long-term chart on this. You and I were talking about it before we came on. We're going to the COVID low, 778. Hard to believe that this thing went 10x, 12x, really, from $7 to 84, and fully reversed. We're back to 990 today. And again, why wouldn't it go back to this?
Unbelievable.
But this is the destruction. This is the death and destruction that we're seeing. This is what we're going to continue to see. And the higher we go on this bounce, the better that we're going to have on the right side. And, we could still go higher. But again, I don't see it lasting past August. I just don't. We may get through this earnings season somewhat unscathed and rally a little bit softer. Most of the rally is almost done. I mean, we're up 15%, 11,000 to 12.5, now 12.7. So 11 to 12.7, Bob, that's solid, what, 16%?
Let me share a little nuance on the weekly as we end the week. Two things that we've been looking at a lot. And again, the NASDAQ futures continuation chart on the weekly pinged that momentum level almost to the tick, and reacted off of it. The thing I find more interesting is, this can go sideways. Next week's obviously going to be incredibly important with the Fed and how the market reacts to whatever they do. But that's a solid rejection. The thing I find interesting is the dollar. Let's go to the DXY. The NASDAQ has reached the other momentum level. The dollar is just testing the directional momentum level, so the up momentum level here this week. I don't see why, if they continue to be, if this market continues to rally, that the dollar can't come down and check this lower momentum level just like the NASDAQ did. That's what I'd be looking for. Again, it's lazy days of summer.
And I've got another explanation or another name also. Let me share another name.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley Bank, which is, a high-tech bank for Silicon Valley. This should tell you a lot. And they had earnings last night too. And this had rallied back to 436, Bob, from a low here mid-June with everything else from 375. So this went up about 20% right into earnings again, and whoosh, now we're sitting at a new low. And this shouldn't surprise. I mean, again, the financing, the money raising has stopped in Silicon Valley. It stopped a long time ago. And now the downside is being affected by this. And the COVID low for this, Bob, was back here, at 120. We went from 120 to 760 in Silicon Valley Bank, SIVB. And look at this thing. And so this is again, we have nothing but air still to get us back to the kind of point of control at 250, and we're at 370. And we're making new lows. Guess what? It's going down. Things aren't going to turn around here overnight. So, and again, these are bad earnings. So when you do have bad earnings, and I'll come back to Tesla. Tesla, by the way, again, a 20% move just in the last week, went from 700 to 850, 842. We'll call it 20% because that's basically what it is. And it is, again, it went from, let me just bring up a little longer timeline here. Got down to about 616 here in May. Then it tested 626 in mid-June. That's when the market topped. That's when everything started going up. And again, we hit all the way up here to 842 or so this morning, which is back to this area in the top of value, right? This is just a 30-minute and was rejected. So if you're looking at, this is where you need to look at not just a 5-minute chart, but you need to scale out a little bit and see which time frame is the next one, right? Because it's got like the 15, the 5 can be bullish, but the 30, it's probably not so bullish now. It's kind of hit probably a peak. And then from there, if it goes further, if it gets above that, then you can look at the 60 and go, well, 60 and the 30 are almost the same. So that's interesting. Excuse me, they're not. So if it got above that and stayed above 850 on this close today, then you could say, okay, it's got a possibility to go to 1,000. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah,
because you just had a huge rally. That's all I'm saying. I mean, look at this rally in the last 2 days. So,
and if you are not if you're not continually playing the if-then game in your trading analysis, then you're not doing it right. It's always the evolving if-then. And then you see the headline.
Well, and then let's look at Netflix a couple days now after, and it made another new high again today. So it did push higher. But again, just barely, it went like $4 or $5 here right at the open. So they squeezed everybody out again, and then they took that down again. And not huge, but 229 down to 221. But again, these are huge moves. 170 a week ago up to 230, Bob. And then you start looking at the 30-minute here, and you're like, okay, looks like it's breaking out. Looks like it, but it's really not. Again, it's right at that level where it's probably going to get rejected. For me, it's got to get over that 250. And what's left now that the earnings are out? And again, they still lost subscribers. It wasn't as bad as they thought, but they still lost them. So do you really want to be bullish? Maybe they overshot to the downside a little bit. Okay, that's been rectified. Now you got to trade where we are again.
You always got to trade with the chart that's in front of you.
Right.
Man, I cannot find it. This is really strange for me. I watched a Herbie Hancock documentary yesterday, or most of it, on Netflix about this collaboration. And it's from, I see the one video on YouTube is from 8 years ago, and I cannot find the album. Maybe it's this one, Possibilities. There it is. But where's the album, Possibilities? I don't know. Anyway, I wanted to talk, we talk music, food, sports. A lot of moving in the NBA, and talk about collaboration. How important is it there's plenty of teams that have had the best talent, right? But it wasn't the right talent. It wasn't the right collaboration. They just didn't gel the right way. I mean, you think about the Bad Boys. Let's go back to that team. Mm-hmm. How great were those? Was that collaboration?
Yeah.
It's incredibly important.
Well, you had a guy, you had one asshole like Bill Laimbeer and another asshole like Isaiah Thomas, the two assholes. And then you had
Rodman was a nice guy on that team.
He was a nice guy on that team. And as was Chuck Daly, as was Joe Dumars, and Vinnie Johnson was a fan favorite, and Rick Mahorn was a dick too. But, so you had the yin and yang going, and it worked.
We say this because, it's important. The collaboration has to be right. And there's a lot of, my son just told me that Utah basically gave away their team.
Really?
Because they were great, but the collaboration, not so much.
Yeah, they kind of
thank
struggled.
You, Lee. Is that on Spotify? Because I couldn't find it on Spotify. I've been watching the documentary with Herbie, and it's a really good documentary because it really shows how the collaboration works in music, where especially when you get great musicians together, how they can just work off each other on ideas. It was much like the trading pit. It's much like market vitals. It's a collaboration of trading ideas. And have you looked at this? Or what, that gives me this idea. Oh, let me try this.
Well, what project were you talking about? He did one in 2009 called the Imagine Project. Is that the
right?
One?
And this one, I don't know.
And that one had people like
the documentary was Possibilities, and it had Christina Aguilera, John Mayer, Paul Simon, Paul Midone.
Well, this one has the Derek Trucks Band, the Tedeschi, John Legend,
I know.
Beck, Seal.
There we go. It's on Apple Music. It's not on Spotify. Come on, Herbie, put it on Spotify. Anyway, Matt, Kyler Murray signing a jumbo contract to keep him in the desert. And we've had this conversation, and I got it somewhere. We'll talk more NFL tomorrow or next week as the camps open.
Well, I think about this because there's a former.
Quit picking your ear.
No, there's a former quarterback that lives in this town that at one time was the largest contract in NFL history, right? He had the largest at the time, and that was like 110, 120. So just think about that. Like nowadays, this guy hasn't even, been to the
Lee just said, how many playoff games has he won?
Right.
I guess the answer is 0, Lee. Yeah.
But so $250 million on a 5-year contract. I guess he made the right decision. I think he made the right decision choosing football over baseball. Initially, I would have said, well, if you're a good baseball player, you got a longevity and a long ramp there and a longer career. But $230 million, even in the MLB, is a big paycheck. So, hat tip to, I like to call him Skyler Murray, even though he's Kyler. But he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch.
He's accurate. And my question to you is,
but because he's a baseball player. He's got the arm, man. He does have the arm. And like Mahomes, he's a baseball player too. His dad was a pro baseball player. Kid played baseball. So who do you want to take, that guy or Justin Fields? I'll take the baseball player.
I know. That's the whole deal.
It's accurate. Like you said, it's accuracy in the NFL. It's such a fast-paced
accuracy, 100%.
And I could almost take a shortstop and make him a quarterback if he's got that kind of, or a third baseman. Like if you got that kind of arm strength, you can play in the NFL. Because if you can hit a guy's mitt from 90 feet away, boom, from the third base, whew.
That's a stationary target, Matt.
I'm just saying, Skyler
stationary target. Oh, well, it's a lot harder to thread the needle into a moving target between the linebacker and the free safety with a giant man trying to kill you. giant man.
And he's equally fat.
Let me ask you a question. How accurate is the third baseman if he's got to worry about getting ear-holed?
Wouldn't that be great? Like make baseball great again, and the guy rounding second to third can take you out while you're trying to throw.
I've always said, speaking of live golf, we've talked about it a lot. I always thought that you should get one free form tackle on your opponent in 18 holes. Like you could take him off a tee box and just drive him down into a pond.
If the game's not hard enough already, you've just brought it to
you got to worry about somebody form tackling you on the tee box. It doesn't even have to be on the tee box. It can be anywhere on the course. Although you do have a weapon in your hand, when you have a 7-iron that would split a forehead, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
What else are we looking at, Matt? Anything? I think the market.
Again, the bonds spiked. Everything kind of did the same thing. Bonds spiked and sold off this morning. Crude I know was lower. Where's that sitting? Today we already talked about Tesla. Crude, it did. It started lower and ground up. It went from 94 to 98, and now it's pulling back. Now it's just rolling over here late in the day. Also, again, kind of all assets are one here, and it's
an interesting one, man. We haven't looked at lumber in a long time.
Yeah.
And it like many other things tried to have a rally here the last 4 or 5 weeks. It rallied, but it is fully back, looking like it wants to recapture low momentum on the weekly. That'd be 582 this week. It's nearing there. It's 589 right now, down almost 5.5%. There's a schmeezing, and I've seen plenty of threads talking about the continued woes in the housing market, and this would be an indicator that all is not well going forward for lumber.
Yeah, but again, it went from, we talked about lumber when it was going insane there in 21. It got all the way up to 1,700, then crash, that was 21. And then it went back again into the end of last year with everything else. But again, a really weak rally just above the 61.8 and then rotated right down again. Now it looks like it wants to come back and settle in. 248 was where that was pre-COVID. Why wouldn't we go back with housing demand slipping, interest rates higher, earning, wages, nominal wages really not helping you. You're not getting an increase in pay to pay for the inflation that you're seeing. So I've got to think that housing demand is slacking, supply is growing. So yeah, prices have to come down for sheetrockers. They have to come down for framers. Everything's going to come down if you want to get that business. It's no more of this, 100% price markups. It's going to stop, and that includes, the commodity lumber. So lumber to me is not bullish. It's not going to be bullish for the next decade going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Back to our boys over at Benzinga. I'm liking my call. I mean, Kramer called the low of this move in the stock market. The low is in.
He did not call it last June 15th. He just did it at the high here after it's already run 15%. But okay, way to go, Kramer.
Say something nice about Jim Kramer.
I have nothing to say about
long
Jim
ago.
He's
Blocked you long ago. All right, Matt, you got a new cap on today. Let's throw out some animal fat love.
Yeah, I love the name of this brand. It's Butter Slabs. Look it up on your Instagram. You'll find them there. But it's just some friends of my kids in college, and they got this brand all around butter and slabs of butter. This one just
not just a pad of butter,
not a pad of butter, but slabs. And who doesn't like butter? So I like their gear. I think it's cool. I think they're doing a cool job. Why wouldn't I support kids who are trying to build a brand? And they do this whole they hold back on the gear and then they push it, right? They do limited editions, which is smart. They got so much money, and maybe they're going to sell 100 hoodies or 200 of these hats. It's just a cheap trucker hat, but you're not going to find any more of these around, right? So look for butter slabs. Butter slabs.
By the way, a little hack here on your slow cooked pot roast. One of my favorite recipes is at least a stick or two in that. But I mean, there's enough fat in a pot roast anyways. You wouldn't think you'd need more fat.
Right.
But listen, fat is where it's at, Matt. And that's Lee, how do you get fat in your diet? That's a good question on food. What's your go-to fat source? Is he listening? Full contact golf. Yeah, he's listening. Butter. There it is. Butter. Are you a Kerrygold fan?
My dad's wife's grandson works for Kerrygold, actually.
Dude, it's so good. It's like when you back on the farm when you have the chickens and you crack a fresh egg from the chickens and you're like, wow, that's completely different color than the store-bought mass-produced chicken egg.
By the way, you can go to butterslabs.com. Great website.
Look at that, sold out. So none of those were even made. They just put sold out on it.
Well, and I just got the hat. I got the trucker gray. I kind of like this. I kind of like this bubble slabs gum t-shirt. They're kind of. I like that.
Is that butter flavored bubble gum? Because that's disgusting.
I mean, I kind of like it. What do you think?
Well, you need a triple X first of all.
No,
the XL is not going to work for you. That's all I'm saying.
Look at that. That's beautiful.
You in an XL is like Mark Spitz in a Speedo. I mean, come on. Man, I got to go way back to find content. Like 90% of the people watching don't know who that is. Anyway, that's what we got. It's the weekend.
Good looking. Like it. Butter slabs.
I'm gonna make the video on the what the hell you call it? The butter with the beef, definitely butter and beef. And then you also obviously use the Shrimp Mojo. You pulverize the dried mushroom, a little Himalayan pink salt, any kind of salt's going to work. Just a little bit though. And I prefer the salt after, right? A little bit of rosemary chopped up and a couple slabs of butter on that pot roast, low and slow, at least 5 hours, 250 until it pulls. Oh my God. And then you make sliders with it. And again, talk about owning it. Mojo butter mix. Please, Lee, do it. Try it. Do it. Hit it with some,
Those are the day.
hit it with some tempeh too on that garlic bread. Forget about it. All right, that's what we got. Matt, thank you so much. Lee, thank you. Please visit us at marketfellas.io. Please share, retweet, plagiarize anything that you have seen on the show. All of this is guaranteed probably to work. That's our motto. Mind the mo, know what that value range is, know where the point of control is at all times. Be disciplined, trade disciplined, or live in a van down by the river. Depending on how the fishing is, it's not a bad option either. The van down by the river, Matt. And depending on the river.
Last night, Black Crows played. Did you catch any of that walking by?
I did not. I did not.
The Robinson boys. I always liked them.
Yeah. For another depressing set, here's the Black Crows for you.
Really? You think they're depressing?
They have the most depressing song ever written. So I'll just say that.
Which one?
Hold on. Hold on.
It's so depressing you don't even know it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I can't find it. Sorry about that. She Talks to Angels, Matt.
Oh, I like that song though. It's a good song.
Yeah, well, you're a depressing fuck, so of course you do. All right.
There's nothing wrong with nothing wrong with melancholy songs.
Melancholy. Yeah. Okay. You why don't you go date Melancholy and tell me how the weekend turns out? And I'll go date Snapchat. We'll see. We'll circle back. What's going on with Jen Psaki anyway? The circle back lady.
Oh well, they brought in Jean-Pierre. So I don't know. She's
Fridays we don't talk politics.
Jean-Pierre is hilarious. She's the worst. If you thought Jen was bad.
All right, I'm going to do a Psaki bomb and get after it. You have a great day. Have a great weekend. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Matt. Hasta.
What time are we playing tennis?
Probably 3. 3 sounds good.
All right.
3 sets. Split set yesterday. Split set yesterday. First time ever. I dropped to my knees like a first time US Open champion. Thank you.
We had a good 15 on the Whoop. It was like the rating was high, dude.
Yeah, well, it was the temperature was the meridian of the sun.
Yeah.
And
10 degrees less today, though. That's why we got to take advantage of it.
It's going to be beautiful. As we go, man, let me just share one more thing, because once you make that this is what you do. You make the pot roast sliders. Oh my God, that was on the food truck. I would sell out of those every time I had them. The pot roast sliders.
Well, it's the name.
Oh,
pot roast sliders.
Oh my God, with the little coleslaw, a little you know what I like? I like making my own coleslaw, and I like putting blue cheese in the coleslaw. Blue cheese slaw.
Blue cheese crumbles, basically.
Oh, just so good. I am salivating right now looking at that. You're
hungry. Why do you do this to me? I haven't eaten. It's 10 a.m. and I haven't eaten.
Oh my God. That picture is worth at least 7.5 words. I don't care. 1,000, maybe not, but at least 7.5.
Can you bring one of those over right now?
Right. And then the key too for the sliders at home is the Hawaiian rolls, right? The Hawaiian buns.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just kicking it up notch after notch.
I remember my grandmother used to, I don't know where I think she imported those from Hawaii, actually. Like she literally did. You could not find them in Detroit, but she had a place in Hawaii, and I think she would bring them in, and oh my God.
You try to tell me your grandma was an original Kono Hawaiian bun smuggler.
No, well, no. They sold them there. Like there was a brand, and they would have them shipped back. Like, and then they would serve them with their their bland pork roast.
Man, I think we're the only show that tries to go off the air for like 20 minutes. We don't have a hard commercial break. You know, the other guys, they just cut people off. We got to go.
We got
we're more like sitting on a park bench.
well, the market's just dragging on the bottom, and it's Friday afternoon. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Lee. It's like the end of an Allman Brothers song.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It goes on and on
Ed,
and on. Or a dead show.
Ed Zachary. Was it over? Is the song over? I don't know. Worst case I've ever seen.
Bring Jerry back out. Bring Fish back out. Make the Allman Brothers great again.
All right, man. Take it easy.